Listen carefully, because this may be the battle you have been avoiding your entire life. You keep trying to change your circumstances, defeat your problems, gain respect, become successful, and make other people treat you differently. But there's a battle that comes before all of those things. The battle inside your own mind. Before you try to conquer the world, learn to govern yourself. Before you demand respect from other people, become the kind of person you can respect when nobody is watching. Before you worry about controlling tomorrow, learn to control the mind that is creating your decisions today. Because if you cannot lead yourself, something else eventually will. Your anger will lead you. Your cravings will lead you. Your fear will lead you. Other people's opinions will lead you. Your need for comfort will lead you. And little by little, you may begin calling it life when you are actually living according to whatever happens around you. Someone insults you, and they control your mood. Someone criticizes you, and they control your confidence. Someone ignores you, and they control your peace. An opportunity disappears, and they control your direction. A temptation appears, and it controls your behavior. Without noticing it, you can become a prisoner without anyone ever putting chains around you. The Stoics understood this problem thousands of years ago. They knew that real strength was not about forcing the outside world to obey you. It was about becoming so disciplined internally that the outside world could no longer easily command your emotions, choices, and character. Marcus Aurelius expressed this idea when he reminded himself that our power is over our own minds, not over external events. That distinction sounds simple, but it can completely change the way you live. You cannot command the storm to stop, but you can decide how you hold the wheel. You cannot prevent every difficult event from entering your life, but you can decide what kind of person meets that event. You cannot control every person around you, but you can control whether their behavior becomes the ruler of your mind. And this is why self-mastery must come before everything else. Before money, before status, before influence, before achievement, before recognition. There must be discipline, because success without self-control can become another form of slavery. Give a person money without teaching them how to control desire, and they may spend their entire life chasing more. Give them attention without teaching them how to control their ego, and they may become addicted to approval. Give them power without giving them character, and eventually that power may destroy them. Think about a diamond hidden inside an ordinary piece of stone. From the outside, nobody can see its value. It must pass through pressure, cutting, friction, and patience before its real form becomes visible. You're not so different. There may already be enormous potential inside you. But potential is not character. Potential becomes character only through repeated choices. And that transformation does not happen because of one motivational speech. It happens because of what you repeatedly do when nobody is watching. It happens when you pause instead of exploding, when you walk away from temptation, when you protect your attention, when you choose difficulty instead of unnecessary comfort, when you remain humble after success, when you move forward despite fear, when you refuse to let pain define you, when you keep promises to yourself, and when you finally accept that some things will never be under your control. So in this video, we are going through 9 Stoic principles for mastering yourself before trying to master your life. But don't simply listen to these principles as philosophical ideas. Use them as mirrors, because somewhere in these 9 principles, you may recognize the exact weakness that has been quietly controlling you. And remember this throughout the video. The goal of Stoicism is not to become cold. It is not to stop feeling. It is not to become emotionless. The goal is to feel deeply without becoming a servant to every feeling. To experience anger without becoming anger. To experience fear without allowing fear to choose your direction. To experience pain without allowing pain to become your identity. To enjoy success without becoming dependent on it. In other words, the goal is not to remove your humanity. The goal is to become the person who governs it. Let's begin. Principle 1. Master your reaction. The first test of self-mastery is not what you do when everything is going perfectly. It is what happens inside you when somebody discovers exactly how to provoke you. Someone insults you. Someone disrespects you. Someone takes credit for your work. Someone misunderstands you. Someone sends you an angry message. Someone says something designed to make you defensive. And instantly, something rises inside you. You want to answer. You want to explain. You want to prove yourself. You want to hurt them back. You want a final word. And right there, in that tiny space between what happened and what you do next, your freedom is being tested. Epictetus taught that events themselves do not determine our response. Our judgment about those events plays a powerful role in what happens next. Think about that. You may not control the first emotion that appears. Anger can arrive before you invite it. Fear can appear before you are ready. Disappointment can hit you instantly. But an emotion appearing inside you does not mean you have the hand at the steering wheel. Anger can knock on the door without being allowed to drive the car. Fear can speak without becoming your decision maker. Someone can provoke you without possessing you. Imagine a powerful animal capable of destroying almost anything around it. Real power is not demonstrated by attacking everything that moves. Power includes restraint. A disciplined person is similar. They do not react to every sound. They do not answer every insult. They do not enter every argument. They do not spend their energy proving themselves to every person who misunderstands them. They watch. They evaluate. Then they act when action actually serves a purpose. This is controlled strength. Imagine receiving a message that makes your blood boil. Your fingers immediately move toward the keyboard. You want to send the perfect response. Stop. Put the phone down. Walk away. Give your nervous system time to settle. Then ask yourself one question. If I answer right now, am I choosing my response? Or is my emotion choosing it for me? That question creates space. And sometimes that space will save you from consequences that could have lasted years. Because a moment of anger can destroy a relationship. A moment of pride can destroy an opportunity. A moment of fear can destroy a dream. A moment of impulse can create a habit. And the tragedy is that the moment itself may last only seconds. Your reaction can last much longer. This is why silence can sometimes be stronger than an argument. You don't have to win every confrontation. You don't have to make every disrespectful person understand your value. You don't have to prove that you were right. Sometimes the victory is simply refusing to become a worse version of yourself because someone else behaved badly. A storm does not ask a mountain for permission to arrive. It crashes against it. It makes noise. It brings darkness. And then eventually it moves on. The mountain remains. Become more like the mountain. Let emotions pass through you without allowing them to become your identity. Because when you stop giving every person and every event the power to dictate your emotional state, something important happens. You become difficult to manipulate. And a person who cannot easily be provoked cannot easily be controlled. That is the beginning of self-mastery. Principle 2. Master your desires. Most people think freedom means having the ability to get whatever they want. The Stoics would challenge that idea. What if needing everything you want is actually another form of dependence? If you cannot feel valuable without attention, attention owns you. If you cannot be happy without money, money owns you. If you cannot relax without entertainment, stimulation owns you. If you cannot feel complete without another person's approval, that approval owns you. And if you cannot walk away from something that is destroying you, then that thing has authority over you. This is one of the hardest battles because desire rarely announces itself as a weakness. It usually sounds reasonable. I deserve this. Just one more time. I'll stop tomorrow. Everyone else is doing it. I've worked hard, so I should have it. And slowly, the mind begins negotiating with itself. The boundary that was once firm becomes flexible. The promise you made yesterday becomes optional today. Eventually, discipline is replaced by excuses. The chains are invisible, but they're still chains. Epictetus encouraged people to examine what their desires made them dependent upon. That is a powerful question because it shifts the focus from "can I get this?" to "what happens to me if I cannot have this?" That second question reveals your freedom. Can you enjoy something without needing it? Can you appreciate comfort without becoming dependent upon comfort? Can you accept praise without requiring praise? Can you have money without allowing money to determine your worth? Think about the ocean. A wave rises high above the water, but eventually it returns to the sea. Desire behaves in a similar way. You achieve something. For a moment, you feel satisfied. Then the mind asks, what next? A better car, more money, more followers, more recognition, a bigger house, another achievement, another person to impress. The finish line keeps moving because desire learns how to outrun satisfaction. This is why a person can have everything they once wanted and still feel empty. They conquered one mountain, but immediately became obsessed with the next. Their possessions increased, but so did their anxiety. Their reputation grew, but so did their fear of losing it. Their prison became more comfortable, but it was still a prison. Seneca practiced simplicity partly to remind himself that comfort should never become a master. The purpose was not to hate wealth or pleasure. It was to prove that his peace did not depend on them. Imagine carrying a backpack through a long mountain journey. At first, it contains only what you need. Then you become attached to something. You put inside, then another thing, and another. A desire to impress, someone's approval, fear of missing out, a luxury you cannot live without, an expectation about how life should look. Eventually, the mountain becomes exhausting. But the mountain did not necessarily become steeper. You simply kept adding weight. Self-mastery requires learning what to put down. Enjoy your success, but don't worship it. Enjoy comfort, but remain capable of discomfort. Accept compliments, but don't depend on them. Use money, but never let money become your measure of worth. And occasionally practice saying no to yourself. Put the phone away when you want another hour of stimulation. Walk away from an unnecessary purchase. Take the difficult workout. Choose the harder task before entertainment. Sit quietly without needing constant noise. Do something disciplined when nobody will ever know you did it. Every time you resist an unnecessary desire, you strengthen a powerful internal message. I decide that is freedom, because the strongest person is not necessarily the person who owns the most. It is often the person who needs the least in order to remain peaceful. Master what you want, or eventually what you want will begin mastering you. Principle 3. Master your attention. There is something you possess that may be more valuable than money, yet millions of people give it away every single day without realizing it. Your attention. Every notification is asking for it. Every argument is asking for it. Every advertisement is asking for it. Every comparison is asking for it. Every piece of meaningless content is asking for it. And if you never consciously decide what deserves your attention, someone else will decide for you. Think about the beginning of your average day. You wake up, you reach for the phone, you check messages, you look at other people's lives, you see somebody else's success, you encounter somebody else's opinion, you consume news, you scroll, you compare, and before the day has even properly begun, your mind has already been pulled into dozens of different worlds. Your body may still be lying in bed, but your attention has already traveled everywhere. This is dangerous because attention is not simply concentration. Attention helps shape identity. What you repeatedly watch influences what you notice. What you repeatedly notice influences what you think about. What you repeatedly think about influences your behavior. And repeated behavior eventually becomes character. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that the soul is shaped by the thoughts it repeatedly entertains. Imagine placing a white cloth into colored water again and again. Eventually, the cloth changes. Your mind works in a similar way. What you repeatedly consume leaves traces. This means you should become extremely careful about what you allow into your mental environment. Not because you need to hide from the world, because you need to decide which parts of the world deserve access to you. When someone insults you online, ask, does this deserve my attention? When someone else succeeds and you suddenly feel behind, ask, will studying their success improve me? Or will comparison simply poison my peace? When your phone demands another hour of your life, ask, what am I exchanging for this? Because every yes to distraction is also a no to something else. You cannot focus deeply on everything. You cannot become excellent at 10,000 things simultaneously. A laser becomes powerful because energy is concentrated. Scattered light can illuminate a room. Concentrated energy can cut through steel. Your mind works the same way. Scattered attention produces scattered results. Focused attention creates progress. This is why saying no is a form of strength. You don't become powerful by doing everything. You become powerful by knowing what deserves your best energy. So stop asking, what is everybody else doing? Start asking, what deserves my attention? That question can make your life quieter. You stop entering every argument. You stop reacting to every headline. You stop explaining yourself to people who have already decided to misunderstand you. You stop comparing your real life with someone else's carefully edited life. Your mind becomes a protected territory, and you become more selective about what enters it. Guard that territory, because whatever controls your attention eventually influences your direction. Master your attention, and you reclaim something most people spend years giving away: the ability to decide where your mind goes. Principle 4. Master your comfort. Comfort is dangerous precisely because it feels so harmless. It doesn't usually arrive looking like an enemy. It looks like rest, safety, convenience, entertainment, a soft bed, an easy choice, a reason to postpone something until tomorrow. And sometimes comfort is necessary. But when you repeatedly choose comfort at the exact moment growth demands discomfort, you teach your mind a dangerous rule. When things become difficult, escape. The Stoics understood that a person who is never tested has limited knowledge of their own strength. Seneca deliberately practiced simplicity because he wanted to know that losing comfort would not destroy him. That is a completely different kind of confidence. It is the confidence of knowing, I can handle less. I can tolerate discomfort. I can survive inconvenience. I can continue when things become difficult. Imagine two trees. One grows in a protected garden where it never experiences strong winds. The other grows on the edge of a mountain. Every storm attacks it. Every strong wind forces it to adapt. The protected tree may look beautiful, but the mountain tree develops deeper roots. The force that threatened it becomes part of what makes it strong. Your difficulties can work the same way. You will eventually face discomfort you did not choose. You may lose someone. You may fail. Someone may reject you. Your plans may collapse. Money may become tight. Your body may become tired. An opportunity you desperately wanted may disappear. You cannot prevent every storm, but you can prepare the person who will stand inside the storm. That is why voluntary discomfort can be useful. Take the difficult workout. Wake up when you said you would. Do the unpleasant task before easy entertainment. Spend some time without your phone. Consume less. Complain less. Choose inconvenience occasionally. Not because suffering is automatically good, but because you want your impulses to understand that they are not your master. Every time you deliberately choose a manageable difficulty, you send yourself a message. I could do hard things. And eventually that message becomes part of your identity. Then life brings an unexpected difficulty, and instead of thinking, why is this happening to me? You can begin asking, what is this asking me to strengthen? That question changes your relationship with adversity. Pain becomes training. Failure becomes information. Rejection becomes redirection. Discomfort becomes instruction. Stoicism does not tell you to destroy your life or seek suffering for no reason. The lesson is simpler. Do not become so dependent on comfort that discomfort can control you. A diamond does not become valuable because pressure disappears. Pressure reveals what is inside the stone. So stop measuring your strength by how easy your life feels. Measure it by who you remain when life becomes difficult. Anyone can be disciplined when motivated. Anyone can be confident when winning. Anyone can remain calm when everything is going well. Self-mastery begins when the conditions become difficult and you remain faithful to your principles anyway. Master comfort, and you no longer need life to be easy before you can become strong. Principle 5. Master your ego. Your most dangerous opponent may not be the person who dislikes you. It may be the part of you that desperately needs to be noticed, praised, admired, validated, proven right. Ego is not always loud. Sometimes ego whispers. They don't appreciate me. They should recognize what I did. I need the last word. They can't talk to me like that. Everyone needs to know what I achieved. And sometimes ego hides behind ambition. You believe you're chasing excellence, but underneath the goal is a desperate need to prove your worth. The Stoics understood that external recognition is unstable. Marcus Aurelius held enormous power, yet he repeatedly reminded himself that fame fades, applause disappears, and eventually even powerful names become memories. So ask yourself, if your sense of worth depends on an audience, who actually owns that sense of worth? If people stop clapping, do you suddenly become less valuable? If someone criticizes you, does your character disappear? If someone misunderstands you, does that change who you are? A mountain does not become taller because someone praises it, and it does not become shorter because someone insults it. Its height is not determined by the opinions of people standing below it. Your character should work the same way. Let your actions determine who you are, not the applause those actions receive. This is why success can sometimes make people weaker. They stop enjoying achievement and start becoming addicted to recognition. Compliments become a drug. Criticism becomes a threat. Anyone who fails to admire them becomes an enemy. Eventually, they're no longer pursuing excellence. They are performing for an invisible audience. Real self-mastery means being willing to do meaningful things when nobody notices. Train without applause. Improve without compliments. Keep your promises when nobody can punish you for breaking them. Admit you are wrong when your ego wants an excuse. And learn to listen to criticism. Not every criticism is correct, but not every criticism is an attack. A mature mind can listen without surrendering. It can ask, is there something useful here? The ego asks, how dare they say that? Wisdom asks, could there be something I need to learn? That question can save you years of repeating the same mistake. There's another trap, the need to prove yourself to people who don't matter. Someone doubts you, and suddenly your entire life becomes a revenge project. Someone leaves you, and you become obsessed with showing them what they lost. Someone succeeds before you, and their success becomes an insult. But if you build your life around proving someone wrong, that person still has control over you. They may not be in your life anymore, but they're still living inside your decisions. The person who masters himself does not need revenge. He does not need everyone to understand him. He does not need to announce every victory. He keeps building. A river does not stop flowing to argue with every rock in its path. It moves around the obstacle and continues toward its destination. That is the quiet power of a disciplined ego. You don't need to be the smartest person in the room. You don't need to win every argument. You don't need to announce every achievement. You don't need everyone to like you. You need to become secure enough in your principles that applause feels good, but is no longer necessary. When the need for external validation disappears, manipulation becomes much harder. Master your ego, and you stop living for an audience. You start living according to your values. And that is where real self-mastery becomes visible. Principle 6. Master your fear. Fear does not always shout. Sometimes it whispers. Wait, you're not ready. What if you fail? What will people think? What if they reject you? What if this doesn't work? Because fear often sounds reasonable, people mistake it for wisdom. They call avoidance preparation. They call hesitation patience. They tell themselves they are protecting their future when they are actually protecting themselves from uncertainty. The Stoics understood that courage does not mean having no fear. Courage means refusing to let fear make the final decision. Seneca observed that human beings often suffer more in imagination than in reality. Think about how much of your life may have been shaped by events that never happened. Conversations you avoided, opportunities you never pursued, dreams you abandoned, risks you refused, all because your mind created a disaster before reality had a chance to answer. Imagine standing at the edge of a dark forest. You cannot see what is beyond the trees. Your imagination begins filling the darkness with monsters. Every sound becomes danger. Every shadow becomes a threat. But then you take a few steps forward, and you discover that much of what terrified you existed only in your imagination. Fear often becomes larger when you refuse to face it. This does not mean being reckless. Stoicism does not tell you to ignore real danger. There is a difference between danger and discomfort. Physical injury is danger. Looking foolish for a few minutes is discomfort. Financial ruin is serious risk. Someone disliking your decision is discomfort. Losing your life is danger. Hearing no is disappointment. But many people sacrifice years of their lives to avoid temporary embarrassment. So define the fear. Ask, what exactly am I afraid of? Then go deeper. What happens if I fail? What happens if they reject me? What happens if people don't approve? What happens if I discover that I'm not as capable as I believed? Once you define the fear, you can examine it. And something strange happens. A vague monster becomes a specific problem. A specific problem can be evaluated. And what can be evaluated can often be faced. Marcus Aurelius lived through war, disease, political uncertainty, personal loss, and enormous responsibility. His philosophy was not built around demanding that reality become gentle. It was built around becoming strong enough to meet reality without surrendering character. That is the difference between ordinary confidence and self-mastery. Confidence says, I know I will succeed. Self-mastery says, even if I fail, I will remain myself. The second belief is stronger, because if you do not require certainty before acting, fear loses one of its greatest weapons. You don't need to see the entire road. You need to take the next step. A climber standing below a huge mountain cannot always see the summit. Clouds cover it. The path disappears around corners. But the climber doesn't need to see every step before beginning. One step, then another, then another. Your life works the same way. You don't need to know exactly how everything will turn out. Start. You don't need everyone to support you. Move. You don't need certainty that you will win. Become capable of continuing even when you don't know. Fear grows through avoidance. Every time you run from something simply because it scares you, you teach your mind, this is stronger than me. But every time you face manageable discomfort, you teach yourself, I can handle this. That is how courage is built, not through one dramatic moment, through hundreds of small decisions not to run. Do not demand that yourself become fearless. Become stronger than your fear. Let fear stand beside you. Let it speak, then decide for yourself. Master fear, and you reclaim pieces of your future that fear was quietly stealing. Principle 7. Master your pain. Pain introduces you to yourself. When everything is comfortable, you can believe almost anything about your character. You can believe you are patient, strong, disciplined, courageous, resilient. But pain asks for evidence. Failure asks for evidence. Loss asks for evidence. Rejection asks for evidence. Suddenly, the person you imagined yourself to be has to meet reality. The Stoics never promised a painless existence. They understood something much more useful. Pain is unavoidable, but surrendering your character to pain is not. Epictetus lived under extremely difficult circumstances and still became one of the most influential Stoic thinkers. His life demonstrated a powerful truth. External circumstances can restrict your body without necessarily owning your mind. Think about steel entering a furnace. The heat does not ask whether the metal feels prepared. It simply applies pressure. Weakness is exposed. Impurities are removed. And something stronger can emerge. Your difficult seasons can work the same way. They can destroy you if you surrender to them, or they can refine you if you learn from them. But understand this clearly. Stoicism does not mean pretending pain doesn't hurt. Losing someone hurts. Betrayal hurts. Failure hurts. Rejection hurts. Watching something you built collapse hurts. You are allowed to feel the wound. The question is whether the wound gets to become your identity. There's a major difference between saying, I'm hurting, and saying, I am broken. The first describes a condition. The second can become a prison. Marcus Aurelius repeatedly returned his attention to reason when life became painful. Not because he lacked emotions, but because he understood that suffering can become heavier when the mind adds another layer of resistance. Something happens. Then the mind says, this should never have happened. My life is ruined. Why me? I will never recover. Now you are carrying two weights: the event itself and the story you have created around the event. Sometimes you cannot change what happened, but you can change the meaning you attach to it. A storm can break branches without necessarily destroying roots. So when life becomes painful, ask, what part of me can still stand? Maybe you lost a relationship. You did not lose your ability to love. Maybe you failed. You did not lose your ability to learn. Maybe someone betrayed you. They did not take your character. Maybe you lost money. You did not automatically lose your ability to rebuild. Maybe your plan was rejected. The rejection does not have permission to define your worth. Pain may take something from you. It does not automatically get to take everything from you. This is where people often make another mistake. One painful chapter becomes the supposed ending of the entire story. One failure becomes, I'm a failure. One betrayal becomes, nobody can be trusted. One rejection becomes, I'm not good enough. But a chapter is not an entire life. Think about a mountain after an avalanche. For a moment, everything appears buried. The landscape looks completely different. But beneath the snow, the mountain remains. Your identity must become deeper than your circumstances. So when pain arrives, don't only ask, how can I make this disappear? Ask, what is this revealing? What can this teach me? What strength is this forcing me to develop? Those questions won't erase pain. They give pain direction. And perhaps that is one of the greatest forms of self-mastery. Refusing to waste your suffering. Let heartbreak teach you boundaries. Let failure teach you humility. Let rejection teach you independence. Let loss teach you gratitude. Let adversity teach you endurance. But never let pain convince you that you have no power. The strongest person is not the one who has never been wounded. It is the person who is wounded, rebuilt, and returned with deeper roots. Master your pain, and it can become one of the forces that builds you. Principle 8. Master your identity. Eventually, self-mastery goes deeper than controlling reactions, desires, fear, and pain. You have to answer a harder question. Who are you when nobody is watching? Your future is not created by what you occasionally want. It is created by what you repeatedly prove about yourself. Every promise you keep adds another brick to your character. Every promise you repeatedly break removes one. Most people try to change their lives by changing circumstances. They want more money, more confidence, a better body, a better career, better relationships, more respect. But beneath all those goals is a more important question. Who must I become to sustain the life I say I want? You cannot build a strong future on an identity that constantly betrays your intentions. Imagine an ancient fortress. From the outside, its walls may look impossible to break. But those walls are only as strong as the foundation beneath them. Your habits are the walls. Your identity is the foundation. If you repeatedly tell yourself, I always quit, then difficulty becomes evidence supporting that identity. But if you become someone who keeps promises, discipline becomes less about motivation and more about protecting who you believe yourself to be. That is why small actions matter. Getting up when you said you would. Finishing what you started. Training when you don't feel like it. Speaking honestly when lying would be easier. Remaining silent when your ego wants attention. These moments may look insignificant, but each one is a vote. A vote for the person you are becoming. Marcus Aurelius repeatedly emphasized living according to reason and virtue rather than the crowd. That is identity-based living. Instead of asking, what will make me look impressive? Ask, what would a person of character do here? That question changes the decision. When temptation appears, don't ask only, can I resist? Ask, is this consistent with the person I am becoming? When anger rises, don't ask only, how can I win this argument? Ask, would the person I respect behave this way? When nobody is watching, don't ask, can I get away with this? Ask, what kind of person am I training myself to become? That is where character is built. Think about a sculptor standing in front of a block of marble. He doesn't necessarily create the final statue by adding something magical. He removes what doesn't belong. Self-mastery can work the same way. You may not need to become an entirely different human being. You may need to remove the habits, excuses, distractions, dependencies, and fears covering the person you are capable of becoming. And your environment matters. If you constantly surround yourself with people who normalize resentment, laziness, distraction, and excuses, those behaviors eventually feel normal. But if you spend time around people who value discipline, integrity, responsibility, and growth, your standards can rise. So stop saying, "One day I will become disciplined." Prove it today. Stop saying, "One day I will become confident." Keep one promise to yourself today. Stop saying, "One day I will become strong." Do one difficult thing today, because every day you are casting a vote. The question is, who are you voting for? The person you want to become, or the person you are trying to leave behind? Master your identity, and your actions begin aligning with your principles. Master your actions, and habits begin shaping your character. Master your character, and your future begins changing. Before trying to master your life, master the person who is living it. Principle 9. Master your need for control. Now we reach one of the deepest lessons in Stoicism. You must learn to stop fighting for control over things that were never yours to control. You want people to understand you. You want certain people to stay. You want your plans to succeed. You want life to follow the script you created in your head. And whenever reality refuses to cooperate, frustration appears. The Stoics understood something difficult. Much of our suffering begins when we demand that reality behave according to our preferences. Epictetus built a large part of his philosophy around the distinction between what belongs to us and what is not. Your choices belong to you. Your judgments belong to you. Your intentions belong to you. Your actions belong to you. But another person's opinions do not belong to you. Their feelings do not belong to you. Their decisions do not belong to you. The final outcome does not completely belong to you. The moment you confuse these two worlds, you hand your peace to forces you cannot command. Imagine trying to control the ocean. You can build a stronger boat. You can learn how to read the waves. You can adjust your sails. You can choose your direction. But you cannot order the ocean to become calm. Yet people spend years trying to do exactly that with life. They try to control what others think. They try to force relationships to remain alive. They try to manipulate outcomes. They fight against events that have already happened. That isn't strength. It is exhaustion disguised as control. Marcus Aurelius understood that life would constantly produce events beyond his command. His responsibility was not to force reality to obey him. His responsibility was to prevent reality from corrupting his character. That distinction changes everything. Someone rejects you. You cannot control their decision, but you can control whether rejection turns into bitterness. Someone insults you. You cannot control their words, but you can control whether those words become part of your identity. An opportunity disappears. You cannot reverse the past, but you can control what you build from the loss. That is freedom. Imagine holding a rope in a tug of war against something far stronger than you. You pull harder. Your hands hurt. Your muscles tighten. You refuse to release the rope because you believe letting go means losing. But sometimes the greatest act of strength is recognizing that you are fighting something that cannot be defeated through force. Letting go is not always surrender. Sometimes it is wisdom. You do not need to control every outcome to create a meaningful life. You need to control the quality of the person you bring into every outcome. This is especially important with other people. You cannot force someone to respect you. You cannot force someone to love you properly. You cannot force someone to understand your intentions. You cannot force someone to remain loyal. And the more desperately you attempt to control another person's behavior, the more dependent you become upon that behavior. The Stoic takes a different path. Set your standards. Communicate clearly. Act with integrity. Establish boundaries. Then release the outcome. This does not mean becoming passive. You still act. You still make decisions. You still protect yourself. You simply stop confusing effort with control. A farmer plants the seed. He prepares the soil. He waters the crop. He protects it, but he cannot command the sky to rain. If he spends every night screaming at the clouds, he has not become more powerful. He has simply wasted energy that could have been used to prepare. Your life works the same way. Do everything that belongs to you. Release what doesn't. Control your effort. Release the outcome. Control your character. Release other people's opinions. Control your response. Release the past. Control your direction. Release the demand to know exactly where every road will lead. This is where self-mastery reaches another level. You stop trying to make life predictable. Instead, you become adaptable enough to survive its unpredictability. And once you stop demanding that the world behave exactly as you want, something remarkable happens. You become harder to disappoint, harder to manipulate, harder to destabilize, harder to break. Because peace does not come from controlling everything. Peace comes from knowing what belongs to you and having the discipline to release the rest. Now step back and look at all 9 principles together. Your greatest enemy was never simply the outside world. The deeper battle was always against the parts of yourself that were willing to surrender control. Your reactions, your desires, your attention, your dependence on comfort, your ego, your fear, your pain, your identity, and your desperate need to control what cannot be controlled. These are the places where your strength is either built or lost. You learned that mastering your reactions means refusing to let another person's behavior determine your emotional state. Mastering your desires means becoming less dependent on things you believe you need. Mastering your attention means protecting your mind from a world constantly competing for it. Mastering discomfort means becoming capable of standing when life stops being easy. Mastering your ego means becoming comfortable with being unseen, misunderstood, criticized, and occasionally wrong. Mastering fear means moving forward without demanding certainty. Mastering pain means allowing suffering to teach you without allowing it to define you. Mastering identity means becoming the person your future requires through the choices you make today. And mastering control means understanding one of the hardest truths of all. You cannot control everything. You cannot control the past. You cannot control everyone's opinion. You cannot control another person's feelings. You cannot control every outcome. You cannot control every storm that enters your life. But you can control the person standing inside that storm. Marcus Aurelius carried enormous responsibility and still understood that his most important territory was his own mind. Epictetus lived with extremely limited external control and still built a philosophy around the freedom of response. Seneca understood that wealth, status, comfort, and reputation could disappear while character remains something worth protecting. That is the lesson. Do not finish this video thinking, I need to control my entire life. Finish it thinking, I need to master myself. When anger rises, pause. When desire pulls, choose. When distraction calls, refocus. When comfort whispers that you should quit, stand. When your ego demands attention, become quiet. When fear tells you to retreat, examine it and move wisely. When pain arrives, learn from it. When your identity is tested, return to your principles. And when life refuses to obey you, control what still belongs to you. Because the person who masters himself does not need perfect circumstances to become powerful. He does not need everybody's approval. He does not need constant motivation. He does not need life to become easy. He becomes stronger anyway. A mountain does not become a mountain because the weather respects it. A diamond does not become valuable because pressure disappears. And you will not become the person you are capable of becoming by waiting for life to become easier. You become that person by choosing discipline when weakness would be easier. You become that person by keeping promises when nobody is watching. You become that person by remaining calm when anger would feel satisfying. You become that person by moving forward when fear tells you to wait. You become that person by accepting what you cannot change and acting on what you can. So tomorrow morning, before you think about conquering the world, ask yourself one question. Can I master myself today? Not forever. Not for the rest of your life. Just today. Can you master your mind today? Can you master your emotions today? Can you master your impulses today? Can you protect your attention today? Can you keep one promise to yourself today? Can you do one difficult thing today? Can you choose your principles over your impulses today? Because self-mastery is not one giant achievement. It is thousands of small victories that nobody sees. And eventually, Those invisible victories create a person that is very difficult to break. The world may still be chaotic. People may still disappoint you. Plans may still fail. Fear may still appear. Pain may still visit you. But you will no longer meet those things as the same person. You will meet them with greater discipline, greater clarity, greater patience, greater courage, and greater control over the one territory that has always mattered most: yourself. That is the real Stoic victory. Not controlling the world, not defeating everyone around you, not proving your worth, not becoming untouchable, becoming so grounded in your own principles that the things which once controlled you no longer have the same power. So don't ask how you can conquer everything around you. Ask how you can become stronger within yourself. Master your mind, master your emotions, master your impulses, master your attention, master your character, and master the difference between what belongs to you and what never did. Because once you master yourself first, the world does not necessarily become easier. Something better happens. You become stronger than the things that once controlled you. And that is a kind of power nobody can take away from you.